another Wednesday evening on NTA network service. It's a somber package tonight as the federal cabinet bids farewell to one of its own, the casualty of a road crash. Elsewhere in Lagos, more bodies pulled out of the rubble of the building that collapsed in Lekki. And the All Progressive Congress APC protest the killings in Rivers State, which it says are politically motivated. And as the crisis in Kogi Assembly deepens, the House of Representatives takes over, ordering the sealing of the premises. That's not all tonight. Controversy is brewing over the unbundling of the NNPC, as the House of Representatives says it is illegal and calls for a halt. All these and more on News Extra with me, Aisha Bello Mustafa. Thank you for joining us. The Federal Executive Council has approved the setting up of a presidential initiative on continuous audit. This is aimed at strengthening the controls over public finances in the interest of the economy. The Minister of Finance, Kemi Adeosun, announced this while briefing journalists at the end of the council meeting. Here is State House correspondent Adamu Sambo with the details.
President Muhammadu Buhari, while presenting the 2016 budget before the National Assembly, promised continuous audit process of the federal government's payroll. That work has already resulted in the elimination of 23,000 fraudulent recipients of the federal government's salary, saving at least 2.29 billion naira monthly, while another 11,000 are currently being investigated. Encouraged by this development, the Federal Executive Council, presided over by President Muhammadu Buhari, after extensive deliberations on the matter, welcomed a proposal to go beyond the payroll to other areas of public expenditure by strengthening internal audit in the MDAs.
Federal Executive Council agreed that the control framework over finance and the spending of government money needed to be strengthened, especially in anticipation of the approval of the budget, which is an expanded budget, that if we didn't strengthen our controls, then there was a risk that money would leak or be applied to the wrong things.
Consequently, the Council approved the presidential initiative on continuous internal audit, and therefore an executive order is now to be used in accessing various government agencies without notice for checks on the utilization of public finances.
When you're spending public money, it's public money, and there must be controls. And because it's everybody's money, and not only us, in the case of the 2016 budget, remember, it's a deficit budget, we're even borrowing. So putting those controls in place to make sure that what we said we're going to do with this money actually gets done, that the money doesn't leak or be siphoned or be stolen or be misappropriated, I think these are welcome controls.
Promise Nigerians that we would want to be accountable for how every penny in government is spent.
Existing internal auditors, the Council noted, are not as effective as they should, since they are responsible to the people they are checking on, hence the new initiative. However, in carrying out the function, the minister said government will not recruit any additional people, but only use qualified federal civil servants. In the meantime, the World Bank has indicated its willingness to support Nigeria to effectively carry out this initiative, already in use in major countries of the world, including Ghana and Liberia. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
President Muhammadu Buhari has directed that the two children of the late James Ocholi be automatically employed by the federal government, while scholarships be given to the other two in school. Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Babachir David Lawal, who announced this at the valedictory session of the Federal Executive Council in honor of its departed member, said the President also approved that the funeral of the deceased be made a federal government affair. Here again is Adamu Sambo with the details.
The special valedictory session of the Federal Executive Council commenced with the presentation of the interim investigation report on the auto crash involving the late minister by the Co-Marshal of the Federal Road Safety Corps, Boboye Oyeyemi, which partly attributed the incident to excessive speeding.
Mr. President, in Council is respectively enjoined to consider and approve the implementation of speed limiting device to avert future reoccurrence and make our roads safer. Mr. President, sir.
Thereafter, President Muhammadu Buhari reflected on the life and times shared with the late minister.
I was quite close to the minister, and I came to respect his hard work and humility. And I honestly was following his political development and so on. When he attempted to be governor of his state, I campaigned for him almost throughout his local governments.
Some members of the Federal Executive Council, in emotion-laden voices, took turns to pay tribute to their departed colleague, James Ocholi. They described him as a man of humility, strong-minded team player, consummate politician, and a patriot who was committed to the Change Nigeria project of the Buhari administration.
James has capacity for hard work. He believes in it. So for us in Federal Ministry of Employment and Labor, I don't know how we can fill up that void.
One of his unfinished works was the monumental task of negotiating a deal to end the threat of healthcare workers' strike. It is my prayer that someone can complete this task.
We will always miss him. That friendliness, that kindness, that simplicity, but that commitment to change and to our unity and progress.
Good people don't last very long, and I think this applies to James Ocholi. So I hope that we'll take a lesson from the life and death of James Ocholi so that we can leave a good legacy when our time comes.
James Ocholi's death has left a heartache that no one can heal, but only God can heal.
Let us not forget the other casualties of that fateful accident. Our thoughts and prayers are with the Ocholi family at this very sad period. We especially pray for the Ocholi children left behind. May Almighty God strengthen them in their grief.
Born on November 26, 1960, called to the bar in 1986 and became a senior advocate of Nigeria in 2007, as well as minister in November last year, James Ocholi, who died alongside his wife and son, will be laid to rest on the 18th of this month. President Muhammadu Buhari led other council members to sign a condolence register in honor of the deceased. During the council meeting, a minute's silence was observed at the instance of President Buhari in honor of the late Major General Yushau Abubakar, Chief of Training and Operations of the Nigerian Army, who died in an auto crash along Damaturu-Maiduguri Road. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
Shortly after the Federal Executive Council meeting, members proceeded to the Kado, Abuja residence of their late colleague, James Ocholi, to condole with the family. Saliu Abdullahi reports that Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Babachir Lawal, led the delegation.
Kado residence of the late Minister of State, Labour and Employment, James Ocholi, is playing host to sympathizers. Leading members of the Federal Executive Council, Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Babachir Lawal, said they are in the house to condole with the family of the deceased. Minister of Labour and Employment, Chris Ngige, spoke after the condolence.
National Security Advisor and all federal ministers were all here to solidarize with the family, show them solidarity. Tell them that all hope is not lost. Tell them that there's still hope. After rain comes sunshine.
Archbishop Sam Amaga, who received them on behalf of the family, commended the federal government's show of support and care to the family. He described late James Ocholi as a member of many families who will be greatly missed by all.
I appreciate the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria for letting the entire machinery of the federal government visit James Ocholi's family. We are glad that there was such show of concern. There's not much to be said other than praying for these little ones. That's our concern.
Members of the Federal Executive Council described the sudden death of the Minister of State, Labour and Employment, James Ocholi, as a great lesson to many people, especially public office holders.
We have seen the Federal Road Safety Report of the crash. Big lessons there, especially with convoy driving, government driving bus, and the state of our roads. The lessons are there. Government will tackle some of the ones that concerns us. Primarily, most of them concern government.
In Abuja, Salihu Abdullahi, NTA News.
In other news, President Muhammadu Buhari has expressed optimism that the genuine brotherhood, solidarity and collaboration now evolving between Nigeria and South Africa will propel the two countries to greater heights for the overall interest of the African continent. The president said this at a state dinner organized in honor of President Jacob Zuma of South Africa. Here is State House correspondent Adamu Sambo with the details.
Making reference to the bilateral discussions earlier held between them, both Presidents Muhammadu Buhari and Jacob Zuma expressed the belief that as biggest economies in Africa, time has come for Nigeria and South Africa to take the responsibility of playing a more visible role in the quest for African solution to African problems.
We believe that Africa must rid itself of conflict and recommit to the goal of silencing the gun on the continent, not just by the target of 2020, but a lot sooner than that. This is the legacy that we owe our people and must not fail them.
Whether we like it or not, many in the African continent look to Nigeria and South Africa to ensure that the problems of Africa are tackled seriously and resolved.
The presidents also noted with delight that challenges militating against the two countries benefiting maximally from the goals and objectives of earlier agreements reached have been identified.
We do not only stop at reviewing the agreements, but more importantly, we also renewed our commitment and determination to overcome all obstacles that may stand in the way of our progress.
We are one people. If there are any difficulties that arise in this relationship between our two countries, we will confront those problems and solve them together.
The two leaders agreed that Nigeria is to host the meeting of the Binational Commission this year to review and consider new areas of cooperation. On the economy, President Buhari made a case for Nigeria and South Africa to come up with a robust and focused economic agenda backed with deployment of innovative strategies to tap into sectors where they have competitive advantage in order to turn around their fortunes in response to the global economic challenges.
We must act collectively and support each other according to our capability and country endowments.
My visit to Nigeria has a clear purpose. We want to cement the relations between the two countries at all levels, social, political, and economic.
President Jacob Zuma used the opportunity to formally thank Nigeria for selflessly supporting the liberation struggle of his country in the apartheid era. Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, who attended the dinner, spoke to newsmen on his impression of the Buhari administration so far.
I believe within the shortest possible time, Nigerians will now begin to see, the change that has been promised. We expect this month the budget will be passed, and then after that, activities will start.
President Buhari has been formally invited by the South African leader to pay a similar visit to his country anytime soon. From the State House, Adamu Sambo, NTA News.
With 875,000 displaced persons in the northeast of Nigeria and faced with the challenge of food insecurity, the international community has been called upon to start supporting activities the government is implementing to assist those who do not have access to food. This was when the Vice President received officials of the World Food Programme. Let's get the details of this from State House correspondent Jide Onifade.
Most of the federal government's programs on the internally displaced persons are being implemented through the National Emergency Management Agency. The World Food Programme is therefore working with NEMA in support of the food assistance needs of those displaced by insurgency in the northeast in adversary capacity. The World Food Programme team's visit to Vice President Yemi Osinbajo is to further assess ongoing efforts in this regard and other areas of needs. Their conversation was on the activities both parties have performed and what must be done to scale up the work. While appreciating the contributions of international partners, the Vice President said the federal government will partner with the World Food Programme, which is a United Nations agency, in the implementation of its school feeding program. Broadly, the conversation centered on what the World Food Programme must do to support government in the efforts to increase agricultural production in the country, to address issues of nutrition, as well as to support with the World Food Programme tools and capacity strengthening.
The challenges that the insurgency in the north has affected the robustness of markets by increasing the amount of cash that the displaced have in their possession. What we can do is ensure that we're not only providing the food assistance needs, but we're providing for the economic stability of the area that is required.
In the State House, Chide Onifade, NTA News.
President Muhammadu Buhari has approved the final unbundling of the NNPC into 7 divisions. Minister of State Petroleum made this known at a meeting with editors and bureau chiefs in Abuja. Lydia Sampson tells us more.
New structure, 5 core divisions of upstream, downstream, gas and power, as well as ventures and refining groups will be business focused, while reiterating that the changes are not fundamental and that there will be no job losses. The minister said there will be more engagement of staff at all levels to make them more productive. Ibe Kachuku says it is not unbundling into 30 companies as earlier reported.
The principle of our restructuring, which was approved by the President, is that nobody loses work for now. We've obviously made some changes here and there to get it tighter, to get it more professional, to get it more focused, and some of those names will also be released. I know, for example, if I'm going to run through some of that very quickly, that for the upstream, Bello Rabi, for example, is an appointed head of the upstream. For downstream, Henry Kemobi has been recruited to come run downstream. Refineries, and Nebo Kraga, who was treasurer, is going in there. Gas and power, Saidu Mohammed, who's coming from the Kaduna refinery, will take over that. CEO Ventures, Babatunde Adeniran, will be doing that.
The Minister of State, while apologizing to Nigerians over the re-emergence of queues and filling stations, said everything possible is being done to address the issue.
As of today, we're doing literally 100% coverage. And that is because majors and some independents are unable to bring in product, some due to foreign exchange challenges, some due to cash flow challenges. But we've given out the license, we've given out the allocations for them to bring, but they just haven't. And if we stay where our mandate calls for, we'll have massive petroleum shortages all over the country. So we've sort of just risen to that game to try and bring in as much as we can.
While calling for more understanding from Nigerians, Dr. Ibe Kachuku lamented that NNPC, which was established to provide a total of 50% fuel consumption of the nation, is now saddled with providing 100% because major marketers and even some independent marketers are no longer importing due to exchange rate. In Abuja, I'm Lydia Sampson, NTA News.
In the meantime, the House of Representatives has advised the Minister of State Petroleum and Group Managing Director of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, to suspend his plan of unbundling the NNPC. National Assembly correspondent Ignatius Onkwo has the details.
The members, in a motion moved at Tuesday's plenary by Representative Agom Jaribe from Cross River State, observed that the decision amounts to usurping the powers of the legislature. Such reforms, they argued, can only be effected through an executive bill to the National Assembly by President Buhari.
The House is worried that the Honorable Minister's pronouncement preempts the provisions of the proposed Petroleum Industry Bill, which has not been introduced in the 8th Assembly. The House hereby resolves to condemn the executive legislation by the Honorable Minister of Petroleum Resources, Dr. Ibe Kachuku, to the effect that he will unbundle NNPC into 3 different entities this week without legislative approval.
After the investigation, when we have the report, we can now debate based on
fast.
The House mandated its Joint Committee on Petroleum Upstream and Downstream to investigate the proposals and report to the House at plenary. From the National Assembly, Ignatius Nkwo, NTA News.
Let's head to Lagos now, where motorists are lamenting the return of long queues at petrol stations across the state, which they claim is taking its toll on their socio-economic well-being. Jane Ojukwu brings us an update.
Premium motor spirit, otherwise known as fuel, is one of the basic necessities, as many socio-economic activities depend on it to function. Inadequate supply of fuel brings untold hardship to the people. With the scarcity of petrol and its attendant long queues, the effect on the masses can only be imagined.
We've been here for over 2 to 3 hours.
Today you are so able to buy fuel. The following day you see queues everywhere. When are we going to have rest in this country? I don't really understand.
Without fuel, you can't do anything. And even in our business, without fuel, it will be very difficult. And that is why we've been finding it very difficult to do our business.
I'm shooting my productive hours because I have to provide the time to come and queue.
You go to the market, you want to buy something, you see there is no fuel. No fuel, no dollar, no this, no that. Everything is just falling down.
No one seems to know exactly what is responsible for the fuel scarcity. Efforts to speak to some marketers were unsuccessful as they declined to speak on the situation. The Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation NNPC mega station located at Ikoyi is, however, not affected by the scarcity, as they were seen dispensing the product, even as one of his staff claimed they have enough petrol. Some motorists and other users of the product appeal to the federal government to intervene and bring a lasting solution to the incessant fuel scarcity. In Lagos, Jane Ojukwu, NTA News.
Still to come on News Extra, House of Representatives takes over Kogi Assembly and more bodies recovered from the rubble of the collapsed building in Lekki, Lagos. Do join us again.
If you hear a bomb explosion or gunshots of an active shooter, that might be a terror attack. At such times, always remember 3 action words: run, hide, report. Don't try to run towards the terror scene to save the situation, because there might be a second bomb blast or another attack. Run far away. Make sure you are safe first. Yes, it is in our nature to sympathize over the hurt, but remember, only trained personnel can help in such situations. When in a secured environment, promptly call relevant authorities and help will come. For anonymous reporting, call 09630-3250-5 or 0813-2222-106. If you see something, say something. Nigeria unite against terrorism. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Join the Airtel family today and get 5 times the value of every recharge. Recharge with *555* PIN hash on the Airtel network and feel at home.
Airtel, the smartphone network.
Our founding fathers worked to establish certain standards of governance. Some of their successors behaved like spoiled children, breaking everything and bringing disorder to the house.
The leaders at that time, as well as those of us that followed them, were patriotic. They went into politics to serve, but not to be served.
It is people doing things wrong and not being sanctioned that led to this escalation.
What is going on now? We are beginning to lift up the quality of leadership.
We must not succumb to hopelessness and defeatism. we can fix our problems.
If you work hard and sow, you deserve a good harvest. That's only fair. If you study hard, you deserve good grades. That's only fair. If you train hard, you deserve to win the prize. That's only fair. If you work hard as an employee, you should have something to show for it. That's only fair. At Premium Pension, we understand it's what you put in that guarantees a secure future. Talk to us today about your pension plan. Premium Pension. The future starts now.
What are these vaccinators still looking for? I thought Nigeria has been delisted from polio endemic countries. Please don't allow them drop anything in your child's mouth. Oh. We don't need the vaccine again.
That's not exactly true. Delisting Nigeria from polio endemic countries does not mean a stop to immunizing our children against polio.
So what does it mean?
You see, one cannot be sure that a poisonous snake is dead until the head is cut off. We have to sustain the momentum through scheduled polio vaccinations to guarantee a polio-free Nigeria from 2017.
I see a sense in that.
Even our president, Muhammadu Buhari, showed us an example by vaccinating his granddaughter against polio.
That means governors, council chairmen, traditional rulers, religious leaders, development partners, and everybody must follow the example of the president.
Ensure that all children under 5 are vaccinated against polio and other childhood killer diseases. Let's make Nigeria polio-free from 2017. This message is from National Primary Healthcare Development Agency.
As the 14 days ultimatum given to the freight forwarders practitioners by the federal government regularized their registration with the regulatory body expires Thursday, the 10th of March 2016, the Council for the Regulation of Freight Forwarding in Nigeria has made provision to accommodate any willing practitioner to access a free ICT training program, including CRFFN payment procedure. Please note that this training is part of registration requirements and holds from Wednesday 9th March 2016 to 21st March 2016. See newspapers of Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday for details, or visit CRFFN website for further details on www.crffn.gov.ng. Further, Mike Jukwe, Registrar CEO CRFFN, for announcer.
My father said opportunity knocks every minute. He used to say to me that even the rising sun is an opportunity. A man must give each day everything. I live by those words. Just 1 minute of one day can change everything. Every day he stepped out with the belief that today might just be that day.
At FCMB, we believe every day is a new opportunity. Let's help you step forward and take it. FCMB, my bank and I.
Welcome back. You're watching News Extra on the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA. The House of Representatives has resolved to take over the legislative functions of the Kogi State House of Assembly following the crisis that rocked the Assembly in the last few weeks. Let's get more on this from National Assembly correspondent Ignatius Unkwo.
The resolution came as the House considered the report of the Special Committee to Kogi State Assembly on alleged illegal removal of the Speaker. Presenting the report to the Committee of the Whole, the leader of the delegation, Representative Pali Riase from Edo State, explained that in view of the fact that the Assembly can no longer perform its legislative functions due to the crisis, the House is therefore urged to take over the legislative functions of the Assembly.
The National Assembly should invoke the powers conferred on it by Section 11, subsection 4 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to take over the legislative functions of the State House of Assembly, pending the restoration of normalcy in the Assembly. Inspector General of Police need to seal up the place and put in police from Abuja here to make sure that that place is properly guided. Then we can now carry on with the legislative business for Kogi State, Mr. Chairman.
The recommendations are sufficient. The report is good, and we don't have to belabor issues.
Earlier at plenary, the House adopted a motion moved by Representative Abubakar Yunusa from Gombe State, urging the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission to compel distribution companies to install prepaid metering system free of charge to consumers.
These prepaid meters were procured by some discos and refused to install them as promised sometimes last year for mischief purpose.
Members also resolved to investigate revenue leakages and operational deficiencies in the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, NIMASA, moved by Representative Jones Onyerere from Imo State.
NIMASA Act authorizes the agency to collect 3% of the gross freight earnings. Mr. Speaker, over the past 8 years, NIMASA has failed to pay in 3% of this levy, amounting to well over $10 billion, Mr. Speaker, into the Nigerian government coffers.
Another motion that was also adopted by the House is that urging the federal government to strengthen educational system in the Federal Capital Territory so as to accommodate low-income earners living in the Federal Capital Territory. And the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Yakubu Dogara, has implored lawyers to assist the National Assembly in cleansing Nigeria's statute books of obsolete laws. He made the request at a meeting with a delegation from African Bar Association.
It's a clarion call on us, members of this profession, to once again put on our professional hats or caps and then try to craft a new order. And we can't do that based on what we have learned as individuals. We can only work cooperatively when we pull ourselves into associations like this.
The African Bar Association is the largest association of lawyers in Africa. From the National Assembly, Ignatius Nkwo, NTA News.
As part of efforts to facilitate the recovery of Nigeria's funds abroad, a bill for an act to make provisions for mutual assistance in criminal matters between Nigeria and other countries has passed second reading at Senate plenary. National Assembly correspondent Muhammad Ali has the details.
Leading debate on the executive bill, Senate leader Ali Indomi says providing a legal framework will facilitate the recovery of loots and also ensure judicious use of such funds, an argument that was unanimously supported by senators.
It also makes provision for freezing, seizure and confiscation of proceeds of crimes, reciprocal sharing of confiscated property and disposal or release of property.
All the efforts made by Mr. President in moving from one country to the other cannot yield any result without this bill that is here.
This bill is key in order to ensure that we bring confidence in the international community.
The bill was passed for second reading and referred to the Committees on Judiciary, Foreign Affairs and Anti-Corruption for further legislative input and reports to the Senate in 2 weeks. The bill for an act to amend the Sovereign Investment Authority Establishment Act 2011 to align it with the 1999 Constitution, sponsored by Senator Rose Oko, also passed second reading. The bill for an act for the establishment of the Constituency's Development Catalyst Fund, being sponsored by Senator Abdul Fattah Buhari from Oyo State, was however stepped down to enable him attach a compendium, which is a requirement for the passage of such bills. The Senate had earlier commended President Muhammadu Buhari's efforts in the fight against insurgency, following the adoption of a motion on the need to flush out Boko Haram insurgents, the assembly in Taraba State, moved by Senator Emmanuel Bacha.
Security chiefs to deploy security into Taraba State to stop the killings and flush these insurgents out of the state.
The Senate at Tuesday's plenary also directed its National Security and Intelligence Committee to investigate the invention of Ekiti State House of Assembly by operatives of the Department of State Security.
The reasons for the invasion and abduction of the members of the Assembly have not been made known till today.
The Senate, after adopting another motion on the death of Senator Abdul Mumin Hassan, who represented Jigawa North in the 7th Senate, observed a minute silence in his honor. Away from plenary, Senate President Bukola Saraki hosted executive members of the Arewa Consultative Forum.
Stability and security is important, particularly also from the north. We must play our own role to contribute significantly to the GDP of this country.
The chairman of the Arewa Consultative Forum, Ibrahim Kumasi, had acknowledged the commitment of the 8th National Assembly and solicited equitable distribution of resources as well as support for President Muhammadu Buhari to improve the socio-economic well-being of the people. From the National Assembly, Mohammed Ali, NTA News.
From Lagos comes a report that 15 more bodies have been recovered from the rubble of the story building that collapsed at Ekate area of Lekki in Lagos. Tunde Saiki, who monitored the search and rescue operations, reports that this brings to 34 the number of dead persons, while 13 more have been rescued.
At the search and rescue operations, which resumed this morning, some bodies were recovered from the rubble. More bodies are still being recovered from the collapsed building, raising the number of deaths each time. Officials of the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, and their Lagos State counterparts, LASEMA, in conjunction with others, coordinate the recovery of the corpses.
We've been here yesterday around 7 a.m. So far, yesterday we recovered about 18 dead bodies and 30 were alive. And those that are alive have been taken to various hospitals by the Lagos State government for intensive care.
We will not leave here until when we get to ground zero. That means the basement, to be very sure that there's nobody that is under the debris. That I can assure you. And I must commend the efforts of all other stakeholders and responders, particularly the Lasambos, the SEMO, the Red Cross, NEMA, the police, and my wonderful colleagues in the agency, LASEMA. They've been so wonderful also.
NTA News also learned that some of the victims were nationals of other countries like Niger, Benin Republic, Mali, and Togo. They were recruited as laborers for the 5-story building project before the tragedy occurred. In Lagos, Tunde Saiki, NTA News.
To judiciary matters now, Justice Okon Abang of the Federal High Court, Abuja, has ruled that the National Publicity Secretary of the People's Democratic Party, Olisa Metu, has a case to answer over the charges filed against him by the EFCC. Judiciary correspondent Femi Okewo reports that this ruling follows the no-case submission filed by Olisa Metu over allegation of diversion of arms fund. Delivering the ruling, Justice Abang dismissed the application on the grounds that it was lacking in merit and ordered him to open his defense. Olisa Metu is standing trial on a 7-count charge of receiving 400 million naira from the former National Security Advisor, Colonel Sambo Dasuki. The National Publicity Secretary of the PDP is now to open his defense on the 17th of March. In the meantime, the Chief Judge of the Federal Capital Territory, Justice Ishaq Bello, has spoken on the need to appoint more judges in order to have a judicial system that will promptly deliver justice. He said this at an interactive session with the Senate Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters. National Assembly correspondent Ifeanyi Ozumba has the details.
Justice Ishaq Bello recalled that the last amendment to the bill to increase the number of judges of the High Court of FCT was made about 9 years ago, adding that since then, with several cases, the FCT judiciary and indeed the courts are congested, hence the need for more judges.
Seeking to increase the number of judges in the Federal Capital Territory Judiciary from the present 37 to 75.
David Umaru described the FCT Chief Judge's request as a legitimate one.
We are all aware of the various reforms in the justice sector and the need for speedy justice delivery.
In another development, the project manager of one of the contractors handling rehabilitation of Nigerian railways says his company has completed all the contracts awarded it in 2011, including 6 rail stations in the country. This was at an investigative hearing with House Ad Hoc Committee investigating the Nigerian Railway Corporation and Transportation.
The project
was successfully handled in 3 sections. Zaria to Funtua, 68 kilometers. Then Funtua Karazal, 90 kilometers. Total of 221 kilometers.
It was not what we expected from a company that we would believe that is reputable to come to us and just be giving us, telling us stories.
The lawmaker stressed that the 8th Assembly would put Nigeria first in performing its legislative functions. From the National Assembly, Ifeanyi Esumba, NTA News.
Following the gruesome killing of an APC ward chairman, his wife and son in Omoku, Rivers State, family members are calling for proper investigation into the matter with a view to bringing the perpetrators to justice. Robinson Dere-Tade, who visited the community, reports that his relatives are still in a mournful mood.
This is the house of Mr. Franklin Obi, who was murdered alongside his wife and 18-year-old son on the 5th of March 2016. The incident, according to family members, occurred at about 8 p.m. when 2 gunmen entered into his residence in Omok, shot him and took his head away. Franklin's wife, Uloma, and son, Bestman, who rode the last jam on Wednesday, were not also spared by the gunmen. In recent times, Omok has been witnessing a series of killings as Franklin family members are still wondering what could have been the motive behind the assassination of the APC chieftain.
He shot him and cut off his head, then shot the mother, shot the brother 5 times.
Not for security control, not of any. This killing where they kill him now. Me myself, I'm crying.
The chairman of Ogba Igbema Ndoni LGA and the police command in Rivers State have assured the community of a thorough investigation with a view to bringing the perpetrators to book and prevent future occurrence.
Immediately I heard it, I was lucky the Commissioner of Police and other service heads came into Onaga. And from the point of their entry, I followed them, paid condolence visits to the families.
He ordered for the deployment of additional 2 mobile policemen units in order to keep the people of the rivers that Omok.
Similarly, APC members in Rivers State have also called on security agencies to find lasting solutions to the killings of its members in the state. From Omok, Rivers State, Robinson Dere-Tade, NTA News.
And back here in Abuja, the acting national chairman, APC, Segun Oni, has alleged that over 30 members of the party in Rivers State have been murdered within the last 2 weeks. Segun Oni disclosed this during a press conference at the party's national secretariat, Abuja. Let's get more on this from Ismail Musa.
The news conference organized by the APC National Working Committee, the acting national chairman said, is to draw the attention of security agencies and other relevant authorities to what he termed politically motivated killings of the party's members in Rivers State.
Rivers State has been transformed into a killing field, with APC members being murdered on a daily basis. Our members are fast becoming endangered species. The National Working Committee hereby calls on the police and other security agencies to, as a matter of urgency, rise up to stem the tide of politically motivated killings and other forms of violence in Rivers State. The politically motivated killings in Rivers State is a real emergency that should not be treated with kid gloves.
Meanwhile, the APC National Working Committee, led by acting national chairman Segun Oni, has paid a condolence visit on the family of late Minister of Labour and Employment, James Ocholi. In Abuja, Ismail Musa, NTA News.
To security matters now, besides human capacity and technology, the Inspector General of Police, Solomon Arase, has scaled up the use of trained dogs to enhance security in Nigeria. This is a fallout of the first Force Animal Security Summit held at the International Peacekeeping Center, Force Headquarters, Abuja. Bonaventure Nwodo reports.
The Nigerian Police Force is holding its first Animal Branch Security Conference. The focus is on the use of police-trained dogs to enhance national security. The first Animal Branch Security Summit is aimed at building synergy among various security agencies and departments of the force to harmonize standard operating procedure in canine, mounted troops, and veterinary security deployment.
They now dictate these IEDs, and the bomb the department follow suit. We are the lead agency in the dictation of IEDs.
The first Animal Branch will also deploy more sniffer dogs in counter-insurgency operations in Yobe, Adamawa, and Borno states.
For the Nigerian Police Force, they're providing dual-purpose dogs, patrol/explosive, patrol/narcotic. Those dog teams will put the fight on the criminal element, is on terrorism. Bomb dogs, they sniff out all explosive devices, materials that are used to make improvised explosive devices. Suicide bombers walking through the airport, walking into the mosques, killing people. Those dogs can provide coverage for that. Guy wearing a suicide bomb, a dog will detect that.
Sniffer dogs will also be beefed up more for perimeter patrol of local and international airports and other key areas of critical infrastructure, while the mounted troops will be engaged in IDP camps for ground control during distribution of reliefs. In Abuja, Bonaventure Mood, NTA News.
The Nigerian Air Force says Boko Haram terrorists have fled their camp at Iza, Borno State, to Samba Forest after their location came under heavy air attack by the Air Force. A statement by the Director, Public Relations and Information, Group Captain Ayodele Famuyiwa, said the success of the air attack paved way for the follow-up clearance operation by the troops of 121 Task Force Battalion, who flushed out the remnants of the insurgents and destroyed the camp. It further stated that during the air bombardment, helicopter gunships were overhead to provide close air support for the advancing troops. The combined air and land operation against the Boko Haram insurgents was conducted during the early hours of yesterday. The Zamfara state government has sought the support of the Nigerian army to tackle the daunting security challenges facing the state. The state governor and chairman, Nigeria Governors Forum, Abdul Aziz Abubakar Yari, made the appeal when he paid a courtesy call on the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tukur Buratai, in Abuja. Governor Yari said activities of bandits in the states are beyond cattle rustling, as the criminals are said to be using sophisticated weapons, thereby posing a security threat on 4 local government areas of the state. The governor therefore requested for deployment of more troops to curb incessant cattle rustling and other criminalities which have taken a dangerous dimension in recent times. The Chief of Army Staff assured the governor of the Army's support to ensure that cattle rustling and other forms of criminalities in the state come to an end. Still to come on News Extra, banks which violate forex regulations to face the music. I'll be right back.
Nigerians. Suicide bombers are not spirits. They are not ghosts. They are human beings like you and me. They live amongst us. They are your neighbors. They are your friends today, but terrorists tomorrow. So you must know your neighbor now. Security begins with you and me. Know your neighbor. Be vigilant. Be security conscious. Report suspicious persons, objects, and movements to the police and other security agencies. The security of our nation is a duty for you and me.
If you see something, say something. Nigeria, unite against terrorism. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Most people avoid the tough jobs. We're different. We're not here to complain that things are broken. We're here to fix them. You need someone that will take the tough decisions and stand by their word. To do that, you need the best of the best. Physically, mentally. So it doesn't matter if it's creating opportunities or supporting economies. We know it's a tough job. But hey, somebody's got to do it. We are Fidelity. We keep our word.
Auntie!
Hello, my dear. I see you went shopping with your mom, right? And what did you buy?
Power oil. It has 0 cholesterol and 0 trans fats. And contains vitamin A and natural vitamin E. It's a healthy oil for a healthy family.
I'll buy power oil next time I go shopping, huh?
Power oil. Healthy for you.
Does your antiseptic liquid kill the germs that cause flu, diarrhea, typhoid? Dettol does. Dettol provides 10 times more protection versus leading competition. Dettol is the #1 selling antiseptic liquid, proven to protect from up to 100 illness-causing germs. So why take a risk with your loved ones?
Thank you for being there. Now, let's find out what's happening in the world of business. Shortage of perishable goods hits Lagos as government shuts the popular Mile 12 market. This and more with Abdullahi Muhammad.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us on Business News. The temporary closure of the Mile 12 market by the Lagos State government as a result of a fracas that occurred in the area has led to acute shortage of perishable food items and huge losses for some traders. The petty traders now source perishable goods at a truck stopover, which now serves as a temporary market. With the Mile 12 market still under lock and key, this open field by the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway has become a platform for suppliers of perishable goods. These traders are caught in the middle of the crisis and are unable to sell off their goods. Unfortunately, for some of them, their food items have already begun to perish.
We put money like 800,000 naira, but now the goods are already spoiled. Maybe we will get like 200,000.
When it's the motor, the people know they want buy them, water touch them, they don't spoil.
Before they say basket 7.5, now they say 3.5, 3,000 naira they say now.
And for the petty traders who bear the brunt of traveling all the way to buy and resell, the unfortunate incident is creating an opportunity for them to cash in on the situation.
The quantity that we used to put for hair go reduce am before we go sell increase the price again. The price go increase.
The leadership of the Mile 12 market say their members lose at least 800 million naira each day, while stocked goods worth millions of naira are perishing in the market.
Therefore, we are appealing to His Excellency to please consider us and reopen our market
so that to do our daily business.
But for those in charge of the makeshift market, which serves as a temporary selling point, it's time for government to explore the opportunity of setting up another perishable market along that axis.
I'm even appreciating it that they should come down to this area so that they can be selling. Very soon, maybe 1-2 months now, you see everybody parking in the express there, and it's going to be another problem.
And that's Business News. Thanks for being part of it. News Extra continues shortly.
The federal government is soon to begin the prosecution of bank officials and businessmen who have been sabotaging government's foreign exchange policies. Minister of Justice and Attorney General of the Federation, Abubakar Malami, announced this in Abuja. Femi Okiowo has the details.
In times past, not many Nigerians would think that forex movement could influence the lifestyle of Nigerians. Now it is very obvious that the upward or downward movement of the naira against the dollar influences the lifestyle of most Nigerians. Government believes that the current state of the Naira is largely a result of sabotage and what it calls orchestrated criminal conspiracies. Minister of Justice, who addressed the media on this trend, says to combat this, government will use the law to knock errants back online.
It is apparent that our national currency is being deliberately undermined through carefully orchestrated criminal conspiracies and manipulation by unscrupulous elements hiding under the cloak of the so-called market forces.
He reminded those involved of the existing laws which forbid round-tripping and other similar financial offenses.
We have gone far, both in terms of investigation, in terms of gathering of proof of evidence, and what remains fundamentally is that of prosecution. And in due course, we shall prosecute those that are responsible for the breaches and infractions.
Government thinks that this step will go a long way, helping the central bank push for a faithful implementation of the forex regulation in Nigeria. In Abuja, Femi Okewo, NTA News.
As part of efforts to improve rail transportation across the nation, the minister has taken delivery of 4 new modern high-speed rail coaches at the Apapa ports in Lagos. He assured Nigerians that the railway system will once again take its pride of place in the nation's transportation sector, following the innovative measures by the minister.
The minister, who was represented by the Director Rail Federal Ministry of Transport, said the newly acquired modern coaches will serve the Abuja-Kaduna standard gauge rail lines.
They have been designed to service a design speed of about 150 kilometers per hour. So with that, we can assure you that passengers will get to their destination as fast as it can be, and it's safe.
We just have 1 for executive coach, 3 standard coach, and 1 baggage van, that's the parcel van that will carry loads for people.
He promised Nigerians that this upgrade will reflect in all the rail stations across the country.
Government is planning to do standard gauge everywhere. We call it modernization, part of our railway modernization program.
The track construction for Kaduna Abuja is completed, so it has to start from there.
The high-speed standard gauge coaches, complete with luxury and entertainment of modern-day travels, is scheduled to commence operation in May this year.
If you check in the Port Harcourt port, the Eastern Port and this port, the rail tracks have been concluded and they've been taking delivery once a week to the north.
The inspection exercise is part of the minister's drive to employ due diligence in carrying out his vision for the ministry. In Lagos, Thekla Wilkie, NTA News.
Experts on industrial matters say no meaningful development can be achieved without the revival of ailing industries that were once the economic base of the nation. Talatu Ezerike reports that this was an NTA's current affairs program, Tuesday Live.
Going by studies, Nigerians' economic growth, especially in the 60s and to 80s, were largely based on a robust industrial sector, be it the textile mills, the likes of the agro-allied industries, sugar companies and other manufacturing outfits contributed much to the nation's gross domestic product, GDP, and were major employers of labor. But over the years, these industries have either collapsed, forced out of business, or are producing far below capacity, a situation the Buhari administration is tackling head-on and supported by the recent move by the National Assembly in reviving collapsed industries to boost job and wealth creation.
We have developed a test in this country for foreign goods, so we also neglect what we produce locally. Added to the fact that even the man who is producing is not encouraged. He doesn't have power. He doesn't even the cost of production is high. Taxation comes in. At the end of the day, he's completely muzzled up.
We came up with the Nigerian Industrial Revolution Plan. That plan addresses those challenges, those hindrances to development, and 7 of those were identified in that plan. Issue of infrastructure, issue of standards. We need to produce our goods to meet up with standards if we are going to play in the world market.
Other concerns include the need for consistency in policy and the right approach and commitment in revamping the industries.
Obasanjo era Murtala. There was an industrial policy. Glaringly, that is what brings up the issue of Ajakuta. And the best to address the issue of Ajakuta then was the issue of automobiles. That was when Steyr in Bauchi came up, Fiat in Kano came up, Volkswagen in Lagos came up, and Amco in Enugu came up. And there are two policies that need to go vis-a-vis together, the trade policy and the industrial policy.
Nigeria has gone into a phase whereby it creates policies that favors foreign companies. That's true. On one hand, we tend to promote Nigerian content. On the other hand, we open our borders wide to the foreign companies.
The policy on Forex currently, you need to import raw materials. You cannot just overnight continue changing the cost of your products because the customers will not take you seriously.
Experts believe that there are now concerted efforts and sincerity of purpose in reviving the industries for optimal results. Talat Ezerike, NTA News.
Towards the proper regulation of transmission services in the telecom industry, the Nigerian Communications Commission, NCC, is considering pegging of prices to avoid indiscriminate and irregular price regime by telecom operators. The Executive Vice Chairman of the NCC, Professor Umar Garba Dambata, disclosed this at a stakeholders forum in Abuja. Ruben Okala has more.
Statistical report by the International Telecommunications Union ITU indicated that in 2014, Nigeria's broadband penetration was just about 10%. Concerned with this negligible rating, the telecom operator, NCC, has put in place modalities to increase the penetration rate to 30% in 2018. One of such efforts is to encourage massive infrastructure build-up that will stimulate seamless broadband penetration to drive technology innovations and overall productivity of the economy. The initiative is to develop a comprehensive cost model using data collated from operators in the transmission cable market.
One of the key thrusts of my 8-point agenda, which was recently unveiled, is to provide and optimize access to and use of affordable, fixed and mobile broadband everywhere in Nigeria.
The Commission had conducted a study on the assessment of the current level of competition in the telecom industry and found out that prices were irregular and arbitrary. In Abuja, Ruben Okala, NTA News.
We'll take another break now. When we return, strengthening ties on teacher education. Join us again.
Join the Airtel family today and then get 5 times the value of every recharge. Recharge with *555 star pin hash on the Airtel network and feel at home.
Airtel, the smartphone network.
Join infrastructure investors and PPP advisors at the Nigeria Public-Private Partnership Conference 2016, Nigeria's first infrastructure investment promotion conference and exhibition. This conference is a must-attend event for industry players and governments interested in participating in Nigeria's PPP market. Venue, Transcorp Hilton Hotel, Abuja. Date 15th to 16th of March 2016, Nigerian Public-Private Partnership Conference 2016, accelerating investment in Nigeria's infrastructure.
You get 3 kinds of mums. The paranoid mum.
It's hot and it's dirty.
The cautious mum. And the Dettol Mom. Only a Dettol Mom knows that ordinary soaps aren't enough. She only trusts Dettol to protect her family from up to 100 illness-causing germs, which is why you can worry less and love more. Don't just be any mom, be a Dettol Mom. Dettol, be 100% sure.
Mommy more. Where would I be without you?
Show your sweet and caring mother how much she means to you. Celebrate her with the special Peak Packs. Peak, it's in you.
Sean Cousins Consulting, in collaboration with NTA TV Enterprises, is inviting vice chancellors, rectors, and provosts to a 360-degree strategic blueprint summit for higher education institutions' impacts, tagged International Executive Management and Leadership Program for Heads of Tertiary Institutions in Africa. It is an opportunity to relearn, network, and re-strategize on how to profitably manage institutions as world-class businesses without compromising on institutions' social responsibilities. Speakers include Dr. Kali Cousins, Professor Alan Lindsay, Professor Jerome Jeff Ohanaja, Professor B.E.B. Nwoke, and Professor Razina Jumani. Date 14th to the 18th of March 2016 at Sheraton Daria Hotels, Dubai. For inquiries,
would you like some water? It's cold, especially for you.
Which era are you living in? We have a fridge.
When everything else in your house is from the present, then why are your toilet cleaning methods from the past? Harpic, all-in-one for you. Compared to other toilet cleaners, Harpic removes top stains, kills all germs, and removes bad odors. For a shining, clean, and fresh toilet.
Wow.
You should also take the Harpic
all-in-one challenge.
So, Afana, now they do so. Na promo. You step on become millionaire. You never hear say NAFDAC don't bring wetin they call mobile authentication service. We go help us know whether medicine na fake or not before we pay. Now, come see. As I scratch this thing wey be like recharge card so, come send the pin to 38353 free of charge. I will call receive text message to confirm. Okay, original. Troy, just like that, we confirm whether medicine na fake or not instant. Now when you sef don wise up, make you help NAFDAC spread the story. Na the way be that. Madam, come and take my money.
Now, National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, they bring on this message.
Thank you for being there. As part of efforts to reduce incidences of maternal and infant mortality in Nigeria, MTN has launched a maternal ward support project in 6 states of the Federation. MTN says the initiative is part of the organization's drive to give back to the society. Thekla Weekly has the details.
Nigeria loses 2,300 children under the age of 5 and 145 women of childbearing age due to maternal and infant-related medical challenges on a daily basis. This revelation makes Nigeria the second largest contributor to the under 5 and maternal mortality rates in the world.
These are heartbreaking statistics that we need to reverse.
By taking this very critical segment of maternal mortality, definitely MTN cares for Nigeria and cares also for the future of Nigeria.
I'll encourage other
big corporate organizations to follow suit.
Medical experts at the event identified poverty, poor nutrition, and inadequate healthcare equipment as a major cause of maternal and infant mortality in Nigeria.
And the idea is to make this environment conducive for mothers to deliver their babies safely.
To reduce and reverse this trend, MTN, in partnership with a medical service expert, have launched a first-phase maternal ward support project in Abia, Cross River, Kaduna, Oyo, Niger, and Sokoto State.
What we're really interested in is public-private partnership.
The MTN Foundation has over the years established interest in several sectors, including health, education, and economic empowerment. The event coincided with International Women's Day celebration. In Lagos, Fekla Wilkie, NTA News.
And for a bit on education, Katsina State is exploring opportunities in the teaching profession aimed at facilitating its youth development programs. The state's efforts came to the fore when the management team of the National Teachers Institute visited the state governor, Aminu Bello Masari, and Jibono has the details.
The plan is to enable youth in Katsina State make careers out of the teaching profession. Director General of the National Teachers Institute, Dr. Aminu Ladan Shareu, drew attention to the institute's work in Katsina State through the pivotal teacher training program. The program, he explained, prepares young secondary school leavers for the institute's NCE and degree programs in education.
To be able to sustain the partnership, we've introduced two centers for the bachelor's degree in Katsina State, one in Katsina City and one in Dora. That is to ensure that we continue to strengthen the partnership and collaboration. It is not every state that will introduce two centers for the bachelor's degree program, but Katsina State has two centers.
Katsina State Governor Aminu Bello Masari described the visit as the needed boost for enhanced partnership and collaboration. The visit is also expected to assist in reducing unemployment in Katsina State. Anne Jibuno, NTA News.
Right after these messages, we bring you a bit on sports. Join us again.
Are you aware that the death percentage attributed to Lassa fever cases is currently put at 43.2%, a figure considered very high? Lassa fever, an acute viral illness characterized by high fever, muscle aches, mouth ulcers, and bleeding in the skin, is harbored by rats and spread to humans via the urine and droppings of rats. To prevent Lassa fever, avoid any exposure with rodents, rats, as well as food and objects contaminated with rat secretions and excretions. Report all suspected cases of Lassa fever immediately to the nearest healthcare institution. Help prevent Lassa fever. This message is from the federal government of Nigeria.
Brothers and sisters. Though we speak different languages and celebrate different cultures, we were still one Nigeria. There was no bombing, there was no kidnapping, and our children were not cultists. Now, we suspect one another as there are spreads of cultism, bombing, and kidnapping. How long shall this go on? Terrorism is alien, kidnapping is criminal, cultism is barbaric. Nigeria is a blessed country. Supports the Nigeria Police and the fight against terrorism, kidnapping and cultism. Always inform the police of any incident around you. Say something when you suspect something.
Remember, we all have a stake in building a crime-free Nigeria of our dream.
This message is from the Nigeria Police Force.
Welcome back. On the sports scene, Nigeria Basketball Federation disowns African Basketball League, with World Anti-Doping Agency expressing disappointment over Sharapova's drug use. Here is Amanzi Marcus with the details.
The Nigeria Basketball Federation has reacted to plans by Africa Sports and Entertainment Management Company Limited to organize an African basketball league in the country. President of NBBF Tijani Umar explained that as the governing body of basketball in the country, they have not approved such a league, adding that FIBA Africa, which is the only body competent to approve an African basketball league, has not done so either.
All we want to do is to establish the rules governing that league. Bring the draft document to us. Let us know it conforms with FIBA internal regulations. Then, on issues of appointment, we are to appoint referees for that league. Secondly, in issues of discipline, we are also to oversight.
Nigerian international striker Asisat Oshoala has been granted a UK work permit. This clears the way for her to complete a move from Liverpool ladies to Arsenal ladies. It goes back to January 2016 when Arsenal ladies' bid was reluctantly accepted by their fellow Women's Super League One side. The Gunners activated a release clause in Oshoala's contract subject to her gaining a work permit for 2016. World #1 women tennis player Serena Williams says her great opponent Maria Sharapova showed a lot of courage in taking responsibility for her failed drug test. The 21-time major champion says she hoped for the best for Sharapova. World Anti-Doping Agency President Dick Pound says Maria Sharapova's failed drug test was reckless beyond description. Pound says he cannot understand how Sharapova found herself in the situation given the high stakes involved, both professionally and financially. With Sports News Update, Amanzi Marcus, NTA News.
There are indications that most parts of Nigeria may experience delayed onset of rainfall, early cessation and less than normal rainfall in 2016. Presenting this year's seasonal rainfall prediction, the Director General and Chief Executive Officer, Nigeria Meteorological Agency, Dr. Anthony Anufarom, said the northern parts of the country will also experience dry spells. Ronke Kolawole reports on the prediction tagged the impact of weather variability and climate change in transportation, infrastructure and agriculture in Nigeria.
NIMET report has shown that high rainfall values and incidences of flood were common in the 1950s, 90s, and 2002 to 2012, a situation that could be attributed to rising atmospheric temperatures, which have increased evapotranspiration and consequently increased condensation, precipitation and flood in Nigeria in recent times. It also stated that despite the late onset of rain in 2015, flooding was recorded in 17 states between June and September. Looking at the pivotal role of transportation and agriculture in the implementation of the federal government's economic reform program, the 2016 seasonal rainfall prediction is focusing on the two sectors to probably guide against the implications of the projected weather pattern to achieve set goals.
I wish to emphasize that the provision and dissemination of full climate services is beyond the capacity of any single organization. It calls for collaboration among MDAs and across disciplinary boundaries.
The Minister of State Aviation is of the view that past mistakes must not be repeated by ignoring the early warning signs, urging all parties concerned to take necessary precautions to reduce negative impacts.
The federal government is also developing an integrated intermodal transport system, that is air, land, and water, that maximizes the transport of goods, raw materials, and people.
The Aviation Minister of State also unveiled the 2016 seasonal rainfall prediction SRP and the release of the Climate Change Review Bulletin for the year. Leading a panel of discussants on SRP as a tool for reviving agriculture as an engine for economic growth, the Minister of Agriculture said farming has stepped out of being a seasonal adventure.
It's an all-year-round activity, which means that whether it is raining or not raining, we'll continue farming using irrigation.
There were goodwill messages while participants suggested, among other issues, the possibility of using the daily weather forecast in planning national life and for NIMET to step down its information into the local languages to carry along the rural farmers. As it is, the 2016 seasonal rainfall prediction is a risk factor for farmers in affected areas. Hence, NIMET is calling for careful and scientific management. In Abuja, Ronke Kolawole, NTA News.
Which way the weather? Let's take a look.
The weather segment, the north will be sunny, while areas around the Mambila Plateau, Makurdi, down to the southeast coast have prospects for early morning rains, including Lagos axis. During the late evening and night period, parts of the central states and the southern half of the country would experience isolated thunderstorms over some locations. And for temperatures across Nigeria, let's have a look. If you're driving in the rains, please be careful of slickly roads. That's our bit from the Nigerian Meteorological Agency. Thanks for watching and bye.
And that's it from the News Extra team and me, Aisha Bello Mustafa. Thank you for watching.